Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode number 45 of the Disney Kingdom and Beyond. I got that one wrong. It's the Infinity and Beyond Webcast number 45 from Disney Kingdom. It's early in the morning, so here we go. I'm Roger here, live in the UK, and we've got Abe there in sunny California.
Sunny nighttime, California. How's it going, Roger?
Yeah, thank you very much. As you can see, it's actually quite sunny here this morning. I'm actually lit up because the sun's out. So it's always good. Summer's here. But yeah, we've had a fantastic week for Disney Infinity news. We've had all the new Star Wars Rise of the Empire playset information's come out. Some new Star Wars power discs have been revealed, and just a few more bits and pieces. And we're also going to be discussing on this week's show we're going to kind of be doing a bit of comparison to the new Skylanders Superchargers. Yeah, that's always a good thing to jump into. So you had a good week, Abe?
Yeah, I've been good, man. Just been busy out here. How about yourself?
Yeah, busy. Summer's kicking in, so it's all good. But just to want to, before we go into any of the Disney Infinity news, just wanted to quickly just give a shout out to a couple of people. This last week we've launched our Patreon account, and it's kind of something that I thought we wanted to sort of test the grounds with, and it was a huge success. Wasn't too sure what was gonna happen with it, but basically Patreon is a way for people to sort of tip up and sort of basically just help out with the show, because obviously it costs money to run the show, and we want to improve things. But this is a real cool way of sort of helping us out. Now we've actually got a couple of we've got a few Patreons sign up this week. I'm going to first off give a shout out to Jonathan Bloom. Now he was our first Patreon, and it's literally just $1. So it's nothing, it's this kind of thing of every little helps. And because he was our very first Patreon, I just kind of wanted to give him a bit of a shout out because he's our very first one. We've also got James, also known as the Infinity Museum. He's a fellow Brit. He's also one of our new Patreons. So really big thank you to James for helping us out with this. And also we have Ethan Allen, who runs the Magic Band Collectors website, and also Sorted Apps. And there's a little app that you can use to download and basically sort all your collections, like Disney Infinity. You can use it for Funko. You can use it for all kinds of bits and pieces. So big thank you to them. I just thought I'd just start off right off the bat with some shout outs to them.
Yeah, thanks, guys. We appreciate it. It helps the show keep going. So thank you very much.
So there we go. Right, so let's kick off straight away with those brand new. I think we'll start off with those power discs. And Abe, you wrote a write up on the power discs. So do you want to run through those power discs?
Sure. Why not? Are you going to pull them up?
I'm going to pull them up here. So here we are on Disney Kingdom. We have the 8 new power discs revealed. So off to you.
All right. So basically, first off, it's General Grievous's wheel bike, and this was actually something that I got to see. I don't know if Roger, if you got to see it too. A video leaked from Coin Op TV before it was supposed to, but anyways, we got to see it, so thank you to Rob. But it looks really awesome in game, and to be honest with you, this is definitely one of the ones I'm more excited about. But anyways, quick description: streak across the galaxy's toughest terrain in General Grievous's personal wheel bike. So it's gonna be cool.
They showed these off on the Toy Box TV Live, didn't they? In this nice new packs of 4.
Yeah, they're actually coming in. What I thought was kind of cool, it's like themed power disc packs, but they're themed to the playsets. So that one he's holding is the Twilight of the Republic power disc pack. So it's kind of cool. Hopefully, either there's going to be more of the same themed, or they're just going to have individuals. But it's awesome. Yeah. Anyway, so General Grievous was the first one. This one is Forest of Felucia. The planet Felucia is basically one of those very vibrant, almost looks like Avatar. Very cool looking planets. But anyways, obviously this is the world of Felucia. It says Forest of Felucia, transform any toy box world into the vibrant world of Felucia, obviously. And then you have obviously the one that goes with it, which is the sky. And that's Skies over Felucia. Decorate your toy box with the gorgeous it says Says, but it's supposed to say Skies of Felucia.
But it's I know I've seen a few episodes of Clone Wars with this this sort of planet on it. Wasn't there a scene in I think Attack of the last one where they were
episode 3, yeah,
where they killed off a few of the Jedi under attack.
Yeah, Order 66 or whatever it was called.
Yeah, I thought too I recognized it from the movie, but I remembered it more from the Clone Wars cartoon.
Yeah. Now, Here's a cool one. This one I was hoping would work. Would be just like our Yondu from 2.0. So hopefully we'd get him as a figure, but who knows? But anyways, this is Mace Windu as a team up disc. So galactic team up Mace Windu call upon the most renowned Jedi heroes. Mace Windu.
So that now means that Mr. Incredible can now bring in Frozone.
Yeah, hopefully in some shape or form.
Yeah, you can walk in and go, "Where's my super suit?" And also, Nick Fury can have his stunt double now. He can now have 3 stunt doubles because he can use his decoy and his double.
Yeah, that's true, huh?
Okay.
Now, on the other pack, this one's the Rise Against the Empire Paradise pack. You have Princess Leia in her Bausch bounty hunter disguise from Return of the Jedi. So it says the Princess Leia Bausch disguise. Princess Leia goes undercover while masquerading as the bounty hunter Bausch. So it looks cool. I'm excited to see that one.
Yep.
Another awesome costume change. This is Luke in his Rebel pilot suit. So this one's Luke Rebel Alliance flight suit. Luke suits up in a classic X-wing fighter, geared to take the action to the Empire. So it's kind of cool. One of the combat vehicles, which is also awesome, the Y-wing starfighter. This says "Make the Empire Tremble" with the Rebel Alliance's Workhouse bomber, classic Y-wing starfighter.
Yeah, because I'm guessing the X-wing is just going to be a basic flight vehicle that we're going to got in the game. So it's kind of cool to see that one in there.
Yeah. And then obviously the second one I'm really excited for, and a lot of people are excited for, Slave One. So this is definitely giving us signs of the possible Boba in the future, or maybe later on announced. Who knows? But anyways, that's Slave One. Hop into the spirited ship across the galaxy in bounty hunter fashion. So yeah.
It's quite noticeable. I'm just looking here at that packaging. Actually, it is very plain. That there looks to me like that is kind of a any Star Wars packet is going to basically be in that same red logo box with no cut with. Yeah, I think they've kind of really reduced the overall design of the packaging to make it simple and probably more cost effective. Which is
I agree.
That makes it a bit cheaper for us as well. So there's no big flashy designs on any of the packaging there.
Yeah,
but now they look really cool. For me personally, the ones that stand out to me are Slave One. They're the ones that I'm really. That's the one thing I'm really looking forward to. And I like the look of these 2 costume discs. You know, I think it's one of those things. If those 2 guys are going to be in the playset pack, so it makes sense that they're in there. So I think they just look really cool. Just really interesting.
No, yeah, absolutely. I definitely love the General Grievous's wheelbike and the Slave One as well, of course. Yeah.
I mean, this is I do not think for one second this is the only Star Wars power discs we're going to get.
Oh no, absolutely.
I think we'll see. I'm thinking at least 2 or 3 packets per sort of playset kind of zone. Really, that would be, because if you think of like 30 or 40 discs equates to 10 packets. 10 to it could. I just don't know. There's just off the top of my head, but I don't think this is the only Star Wars ones we're going to get. I can't see us getting too many more. I don't know about the costume changes. We haven't got any costume changes there for any of the prequels, for example.
Yeah.
No. But no, this is pretty cool because so far now we know what's that? 12 official power discs have now been revealed. Yeah, and absolutely. I'm liking these little reviews. This is a really cool way of they're getting out that information about the figures and the play sets, but the power discs are one of those things that they can kind of slowly creep out, maybe a little bit more easier and less maybe inclined to sort of leak. But just in general, I think I love this idea. I just love the whole concept of just being able to pick up those packets and just get them without any hassle, no bugs at all. And I think that's the one thing I'm really excited about.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of. We'll tap onto it later, but basically something that JV was talking about on the Gameinformer podcast. It's like they want to make it accessible and great for families and fans to, get their figures and their discs and whatnot. So you can tell them going away from the blind bags to this is definitely a great move in the right direction. So
yeah, and also just a quick note. Just before we came on live, I saw a tweet from JV. There's been quite a few discussions about sort of putting out the 1.0 and the 2.0s in the same kind of packaging, because people want to be able to get out of the ones they're after. And they said they're looking into it. Personally, I'm really not sure if it's something that they might be looking at as alternative for the future. But all the time they've got those power discs on the sales for 25 cents. I can't see there's any kind of major need to do that. But it could be interesting to see maybe if they're going to go down that route later on, or maybe they just, I don't know. It's hard to tell, isn't it?
Yeah, only if there's a demand for them. I mean, if the retailers ask for more stock, then it makes sense. But at this point, I doubt it. So
yeah, no, that's cool. Okay, so I think what we're going to do next is we're going to move on to the other big announcement of the week. Okay, so in this next bit, we're going to talk about the new Rise of the Empire playset that got announced. Basically, Disney put out a brand new set of information with new information on figures, information on all kinds of bits and pieces, and really just kind of quite surprised. There was no official trailer, but the embargo got lifted on some videos from like Coin Up TV and Family Gamer and Disney Infinity fans from their recent event. So just before E3, another nice sort of flood of information. Did you see this information, Abe?
Which specifically? Because you mentioned like 3 or 4 different ones.
Right. Or just in general, the official information.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I saw the official press release. I did get to see a few video gameplays from both, actually from all 3 of those that you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
But no, yeah, I mean, first impression, especially after seeing gameplay and more description, is I am loving the fact that it's going to feel and it's going to play different than Twilight. And the reason why I love that is even though I love the Avengers playset and the Spider-Man playset, they almost felt not identical, but pretty close. Like they were like pretty close cousins. They weren't distant cousins. They were pretty close. So, but anyways, just the information, the way they play, more space battles, in this one, it makes sense because it goes with the story, and obviously in the prequels you had a lot more combat, melee combat. So no, I'm excited for it. Definitely great information given through the videos, as well as like the Coin Op and Family Gamer and Disney Infinity fans. They all showed some really great content, and it just makes me really excited for this one. So and it appeals to the older fans too, which is awesome. So
yeah, I mean, I think this is a couple of things. I think they're looking at like the reaction to those Marvel play sets was that they were too similar, specifically the Spider-Man and the Avengers one. So they've kind of gone, well, okay, if we're making all these Star Wars play sets, we may need to make them a little bit more different. And just on the amount of gameplay that we saw like on these new playsets, they aren't afraid of putting this information out there. This playset looks like it's ready to roll. They have got a lot of content out there. I can't, the amount of video game footage we've seen of this playset is pretty good. I mean, I can't remember us ever having this much information straight off the bat. I mean, they've actually even got this playset available down at the Walt Disney World Star Wars weekends. They've had people. I know Pirate Steven tweeted saying he'd already played the game and stuff. And it's just like already, this just we only announced a few weeks ago, and already they've got them out in Walt Disney World for people to play.
No, yeah, it just taps into what we've been saying before. I mean, the approach from 2.0, giving out information, to the approach that we have now, it's great. They're definitely putting all this information out there for everybody to not only try out but to see, and obviously tapping into Rise Against the Empire. It feels like we're gonna have more variety this time around. So let's look at some of these images.
Yeah, so here we have the official press release. So it's being made with Studio Gobo with partnership with Avalanche Software, and it takes in the iconic moments from Star Wars Episode 4 to 6. So you can play as Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Han Solo, Chewbacca, and Darth Vader. So you're going to be fighting on Tatooine, on foot, on a bantha, take down ATAT waters on the snow speeder of a Hoth, which, quick note on this, the video footage we saw of that at on Toybox TV looked amazing.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little
Yeah, we're
bit.
going to talk about that later on. Outmaneuver snow troopers on a speeder bike on Endor, and then epic battles on the Death Star. I think there's pretty much for us falls into the same thing what they did with the Twilight one. There's going to be like 4 different planets that we can run around on.
Yeah, no, it's. I'm just like I'm a little overwhelmed because not only obviously all the information we're getting, but I also feel like I'm going to be playing like maybe 7 different games now because
Yeah.
both of these play sets are different on the Star Wars side. Inside Out is going to be different. I mean, they haven't said anything about Star Wars Awakens except to be very excited. Last Twitch cast they said it's going to be good, and who knows how the Marvel one will turn out. Well, and let's not even forget Toy Box Speedway and Toy Box Takeover. So,
but then that slides into this other thing of them. They've announced now that Inside Out and Twilight of the Republic are going to be out at launch.
Right.
This one is coming out, I think, a month after the game comes out. So this isn't going to be available straight away.
Right.
I love this idea. I absolutely love it.
Yeah. I guess the month is the first time I hear that. I mean, but from what I heard JB say, it was going to be somewhere in between fall and the holidays. So hopefully it's a month after, like you said.
Yeah. There's been so much information wasn't around it, man. So we've got Han Solo there. These look pretty much pre-rendered. These do not look like.
All of these are just to basically give you like an idea.
Sort of a Chewie there jumping onto one of the little walkers.
That looks so cool. That's the ATST.
Yeah. And then looks like we've got new drones to fight. So they're little space drones from the Hoth. And then we've got Greedo there, who shot first.
I should have worn
it. Yeah, we've got little Ewok townspeople.
Yeah, that's gonna be cool.
And it looks like there's quite a few of them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There looks like there's at least 7 or 8 different ones. That's good. There's more choice is better. And then we have Hoth with Tom and these snow what are these ships called? I can't remember. I remember having one of the toys as a kid.
Oh, there is snow speed. Actually, you know what? I don't quote me. Yes. I don't
remember. No, trying to remember all these names. And then let's have a quick look here at the figures. So we got Chewbacca.
I'm excited for him. He looks really awesome.
Yeah, he looks a lot more younger than I'm used to seeing. Looks more Clone Warsy kind of. Darth Vader once again doing the let it go pose.
Let it go. That's the Force choke. That's what they said.
There was a picture on Twitter that I saw, and it's like there's this thing of if you actually look at your figures, how many of them have got that kind of.
It's Iron Man, Elsa, and Darth
Vader. Was it Agent P's got it? They're all like one hand out, really.
Well, Agent P is doing a karate chop. Elsa is doing the snow push or thing or whatever. Darth Vader is actually doing the choke hold, and obviously Iron Man is the blaster. So even though you are critiquing the poses, that's exactly what they do in games.
Yeah.
So not in game, in their films, so it makes sense.
They're all supposed to be ready for action. That's the term. They're supposed to be on the shelf, ready to play. That's what it is. So you got Han Solo there, Jeff Bunker.
Oh, but Vanellope doesn't look like she's ready for action. But anyways, go ahead.
Okay, we got Leia as well.
She looks phenomenal. I really like the way she turned out.
Yeah, and then we've also got Luke Skywalker there with he just looks so young and different, doesn't he?
He looks clueless, I'm not gonna lie. He looks like
what's going on there? Are we going out with Goofy? So I mean that just looks it's like a cool looking lineup. Again, this is one of those, like I said, they've shown off quite a lot of footage. I am liking the fact that if they spread out the content a little bit, because I think in 1.0 we had 5 play sets at launch, and the Toy Story 1 came out like 2 months later. And then we had all those toy box ones. In 3.0 we had all the free play sets at launch, and then we had 2 toy box game discs, and then we had the last 2 Disney ones come out like a month or 2 months later. And I'm really hoping now, I'm looking at this going, well, if we've got the Disney and the Twilight one at launch, Empire and those toy box game disc expansion, whatever they're calling them, coming out the same time as Empire, that will give us 2 or 3 at the same time. And then Rise, Fallings, probably, I'm guessing, just before Christmas, just before the movie drops.
I was thinking Rise would be sometime around there too, but for some reason, and again, we'll get into it a little bit later, but I got the impression from the Game Informer podcast that we might get it before, and then Marvel would be the last one. So I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later.
No, that's cool. But I'm just in general just really excited about the Star Wars one. It does seem like there's a real kind of, I think for a lot of sort of especially people of our age and stuff, we're just going, well, it's Star Wars. It's the original one. It should be first. It is Star Wars. But there's so many people I've been sort of reading tweets and sort of messages from on like Facebook and stuff where they don't really know the original classics ones because they're all growing up with Clone Wars on TV and the prequels and stuff. And it is that kind of, there was a real sort of torn, and even sort of Disney have been very open about the fact that they had to put the classic ones in there, and they're aiming them at the parents rather than the kids because they'll get people to play them. And because obviously, I mean, I think kids will still buy them, but I think that, if you put most kids down and give them the choice between the two playsets, they're gonna go towards the Rise of the Twilight of the Republic, because that's the way they're going.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's hard for us, maybe as slightly older ones, of that we look maybe slightly down on the prequel stuff because that's not what we grew up with. When I was a kid, I had a big box with the Millennium Falcon and the X-Wings and the Rancor and all the different that's what I played with as a kid. So therefore it's got a much more special place in my heart than Jar Jar Binks.
And what's funny with me is like I fall under the category of where I was exposed to both of these basically generations at the same time. I as a little kid was never shown like any of the Star Wars films, and right around before Episode 1 was going to come out, we heard the whole hype. I ended up watching all the originals before I saw them, so it's like I saw them all clustered together.
Yeah.
And I kind of I got the appreciation for the old and the new because obviously the stories. But hey, I mean, everybody has their own section as far as what time they grew up, and like you said, just like Disney had to think about it. So
I think as well, like growing up in the 80s, there's a whole different appreciation for it. As it was on TV all the time. I had the videos.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think I was only like 4 when my dad took me to see Return of the Jedi at the cinema. That was I was at like different age group again. So it's a slightly different one.
And based off of what you're saying, at that time, those movies were like ahead of their time. You know what I mean? Like it's something that you would never see in the movies, as now and today. You see like fake dinosaurs running around and all that stuff. You know what I mean? But no, it's great that they're tapping into every generation because like something that I basically definitely got a big glimpse at Star Wars Celebration is there are now 3 generations of Star Wars fans now.
Yeah.
Original trilogy, new trilogy, and now obviously this new stage that we're going into. So
no, it's pretty cool. Right. Okay. So now let's bring up our next subject. Okay. So let's bring up. I think we shall be discussing the Gameinformer podcast. I just need to flick that over.
Gameinformer podcast.
Yes. Okay. So what we're going to do here is we're now for our next subject, we're going to be now talking and just running through some of the things from the Gameinformer podcast. It's kind of, I think it was like the final bit of the sort of Gameinformer exclusive information.
I got like 4 pages of notes, so let's do this.
Yeah, I'm just going to bring up the page which had it on. If you go over to Diz Kingdom, you will find the link there as well. For this interview, a great interview with John Vanacci. He kind of answered some people's questions and really just kind of. So let's quickly just run through some of these things. So he was talking about the launch and the announcement of. He said, Rise of the Empire will come in the fall. Marvel come later, but legally couldn't discuss it. So that's been something that's been brought up quite a few times. Is I think the Marvel. And I think this was the thing with 2.0 is Marvel have to sign off on a lot, or maybe a little bit more, hold things a bit more closer to their chest. So things need to be sort of signed off a bit better.
Yeah, and it makes sense because for a lot of people who aren't aware, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is now the highest grossing franchise of all time. Because all these movies are in the same universe, they are considered part of the same franchise. So they recently, I think it was with was it with Guardians or Avengers? I don't. Anyways, they over. Wow, I can't talk. They passed Harry Potter. Harry Potter
Yeah.
was the one that was the highest. So that's great, and I'm glad that they're not saying anything. It just gives us more information to look forward to.
Yeah. I mean,
Another thing. I'm
they
sorry.
did.
Sorry.
They did say Hulkbuster and Ultron are in the game as characters.
Yes.
That was confirmed.
And another thing that they mentioned there too was that the new developer for them obviously is working on it. It's United Front Games, and these are the people that were responsible for like the Tomb Raider collection, Little Big Planet, and like you said, he couldn't legally say anything. So
no, again, it looks that thing of they've kind of, I think Studio Gobo and Avalanche have already had a go at Marvel playsets, so they've given it to a brand new team to do with, and I'm guessing they're going to be allowed a little bit of freedom, because they want it to feel different than the previous ones. But I'm a big Marvel fan. I am a huge Marvel fan. So as much as all the Star Wars stuff is cool, the Marvel thing to me is still just as important. And that's what like, Marvel was like. So, well, I'm sat there last night reading some Star Wars, some Marvel comics. This is, to me, and I was watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., this is still just as big for me to have more Marvel content. So I'm still pretty excited about all of that coming into it. Yeah,
absolutely. I agree. It's very crucial and important, especially since you launched 2.0 with Marvel. It has to stay strong.
Yeah.
So.
JV explained the space flight gameplay in 3.0 includes flying from planet to planet, and on the way you can stop off at moons and do little challenges and stuff. So this kind of feels more Pirates of the Caribbean sort of style, right, which I think is great. That's good.
He also mentioned that there's two different types of flight, which is, like you said, open world, and then what he called spline, which I guess coincides with the new Logic toy. But the spline one is kind of like where you have a set path, like the trench run and the Death Star, all that stuff. So yeah, that's cool. I'm excited for that as well.
Yeah, no, we've also he talked about there was a kind of a bit of discussion about the variety of enemies. I think with 2.0, there was a kind of, unless you wanted Venom symbionts and a couple of, there wasn't really a lot of choice of enemies. So this year they've added a lot more enemies of different kinds. I mean, even with the Star Wars stuff, we're really seeing lots of different droids, lots of different things. So that's something that they're much more aware of.
Yeah, and to add to that, he also mentioned something that I thought was really cool, is that not only do you have a variety of new enemies, but there's also a different type of difficulty between all of them. Like he said something about some of them will be kind of like a puzzle, sort of. Like you have to figure them out before you can defeat them. And then he also did mention, which I guess it's the next thing that you were going to bring up there, is that if you're an adult, change the difficulty to hard. I mean, you get more sparks from it, and obviously this game is for family. So if you're a hardcore gamer, just switch the difficulty to hard for all the playsets, and you'll be rewarded.
I think that was maybe one of those sort of things of maybe came out of 2.0. Maybe sort of older gamers picking up the Marvel side of it and being very sort of, like, well, this is a bit easy. Well, it's set that much lower for its general target audience.
Yeah,
hard enough for me. So they've also said the skill tree cap is still 20. So there's going to be less upgrades to 1.0 and 2.0 characters, though they are thinking of upgrading the 1.0 characters with the help of the community. Upgrade patches. This is kind of an interesting thing. I'm wondering if they caught wind of the fact that people weren't so happy with the 1.0 characters.
Yeah, and I like what they're doing here, because even though there's not like basically a skill tree upgrade for the old figures, they did mention that they're going to be playing differently. Like, for example, he did bring up the fact that Jack will hold his cutlass kind of like Anakin holds his lightsaber. So there's like improved melee action between them, or like Rapunzel will hold her frying pan a little bit differently. But as far as what you're talking about, he did reply that they're going to be sending out like this poll type of questionnaire to the community, where they will actually ask people to vote. What do you want? Do you want Syndrome to fly? Do you want Buzz to have like karate chop or a laser? And the community is going to be it's up to them to vote, and then they're going to release it via patch. That's awesome. I'm happy for that.
Yeah, and also I'm wondering if this is one of those things of they know that there's an issue with this, but they didn't allow any development time for it. Because this game was all in process while 2.0 was on. I think it's just one of those situations. I still think with the 1.0 characters that they're still on the shelf, and that's not they are just going to get eaten alive if they don't do something with them, especially like special moves and just more attack. Buzz Lightyear with his little Pixar ball is just not going to withstand much of a fight against Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah, that's true.
No, that's good that they're kind of going to go back and have a look at that. They also talked about the new Speedway and Takeover expansions, which are open for characters for more structured gameplay, and they are sort of, I would say, they're almost torn between play sets, toy box, and these game discs, because I think they're really hoping that these new expansion packs will be a big success. Because I think there's a real torn between people that want the play sets and people who want the toy box and then want that structured play. And I think they missed that boat with 2.0, and this is kind of a way of getting at it.
Yeah, no, something that JB did bring up that and actually kind of like perked my ears up because it makes a lot of sense is you're right. He did say that there is this big 50-50 between the community, whether they want play sets for people or do they want like complete crossover gameplay. And JB did say that at this point they are going to stick to focusing on the characters sticking to their properties in play sets. However, that's why they're introducing these new expansion discs. But this is the thing that he brought up that kind of made my ears perk up. He did say that if they were to go ahead and do it separately, like have the game separate to where everybody can play together, it's almost like you're taking the amiibo route where you're kind of limited to which characters you can bring in as opposed to basically all the characters. So,
but there was something that kind of was piggybacking off that was he mentioned the idea of that, like this Speedway game was there even was discussions of whether or not they should release it as a separate game,
right?
Completely separate. You can use your Infinity characters on it. It's basically Disney Infinity Speedway. It's a separate game entirely, a bit like the kart racing game for Little Big Planet. But they decided that it was launching it within it would be less complicated, easier. The cost of price of it would be less because they wouldn't have to do it as its own separate game. It would be easier to update, and you'd have. And I was just sitting there going, "Wow, they are really looking at sort of Infinity, going, well, how." They're now looking at. I think they're almost looking at it now that Infinity is no longer just about one video game. This is a combination of video games. They're trying to sell it as lots of separate video games. All these different play sets are being viewed slightly differently. The idea of them talking about releasing the kart game as a standalone video game, that was really interesting to me. That was something I wasn't expecting to hear them say.
Yeah, it almost makes you feel like, look at Amiibo, how you can only have one save file for each figure on each game you play. But if you want to play a different game with it, you have to delete that save file on the figure itself. So it's great that they keep it all together. And like you said, price point was a big thing for them as well. And it just makes it friendlier for everybody, makes it easier for everybody. That's cool. And no, I'm excited for that.
Yeah. I was just going to say, on the quick subject of those two toy box ones, I saw an image. I haven't been able to find any more information on it. Target might be offering one of these up as a pre-order bonus.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm still trying to find a little bit more information on it, but I saw a picture of a Target image. So this might be where they're going down the route for, rather than maybe giving away a figure.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I'm still waiting to find out a bit more on that. Anyway,
hey, let's move on to another one that I heard was, and again, I'm not going to bring up what we talked about last time on how they're going to stack them onto this hex space. But he did say that the 1.0 Power Disc vehicles, 2.0 Power Disc vehicles, the new 3.0 Power Disc vehicles, they're all going to actually get to enjoy the new upgrades by Sumo in this new Speedway and in the toy box. So all your cars, your vehicles, everything that you used before, they're going to drive differently and better and tighter all throughout the game, which is awesome. So I thought that was cool because, I can't wait to actually enjoy having equal racing ability as opposed to, remember us having the motorcycle take off and me, the land speeder, just chilling. What's going on?
that was such a weird figure. Like the first time we'd done a race, you, me, and Travis in a race thing, we all sit down a race. I grabbed the motorcycle and I'm off and I'm lapping them and going, what are you guys doing? It's just like, it's like you're in Tony Stark's sort of Lamborghini that to
Yeah.
me is the slowest vehicle on the planet. You might as well be on Gus trying to do a chase in that thing. But yeah,
Gus would be awesome.
okay, so let's have a look here. So we've got other options being brought up, include JV sort of touched on the Hall of Heroes and that they've given that an upgrade.
He didn't get into what the new Hall of Heroes would be called.
No,
which sucked, but oh well.
No.
we'll find out later.
No, he talks about how the female characters in 3.0s, and they really want to get female players into Disney Infinity. And there's a lot, and they want to have as many female characters as possible to kind of encourage that. And I think, I think this is the one side of things, because I think Marvel, I think they really did go a little bit too heavy down on one side. I think Star Wars could easily push that same thing. So Inside Out is being sort of almost pushed as the alternative to that, and it's a more family and sort of a different audience.
Yeah, and I mean, piggyback off of that, as far as like female characters go, I mean, it did seem like it lacked a bit last time, but you do have to include the Disney side. But on this one, I mean, so far we have Leia, Ahsoka, Mulan, Sadness, Joy, Disgust, Minnie, and Korra. And if we are thinking about rumors for Force Awakens, you're gonna have Rey. She's a main character. Phasma is possible. I don't know if they'll make her into a character. And then on the Marvel side, if we don't get a Scarlet Witch, I'm going to protest. But come on, I mean, that's a lot of female. So that's great. That's very great. I'm so happy we're getting a lot more female characters.
He did say stay tuned for more Disney characters, which I thought was interesting. It's like, are we going to get a second wave of Disney characters that we haven't had announced?
And that's another thing, piggyback off of that, too. Somebody asked a question about, it's on this page. Why is it that they prefer Pixar over Disney animation? And JV said, totally not true, stay tuned, which leads us back to our theory about 4.0 being heavy on animation, which is going to be awesome. But like you said, maybe we might have more Disney stuff this time around, but for sure 4.0 definitely might be heavier.
I think as we get into the later games, it'll be easier for them to. They've got the initial Marvel, as I said, they got that initial Star Wars and Marvel out now. They can spread things out a bit more evenly. Okay, so we've got here. JV talks about how Amiibo works differently to Infinity with regards to making sure characters are available to everyone. They don't want people to have a hunt. They don't want to become frustrated. And one of the key things he said is he doesn't want them to become frustrated and move to another Toys to Game Life game.
Yeah,
that was a real kind of shot there, I thought, of going, there's problems with Amiibo and there's too much competition to be pissing people off.
Well, I mean, obviously we all know he's talking about Amiibo when he says these things, but there were some strong words he threw in there. Like, for example, he says, we don't want to take the wrong direction, which obviously he's insinuating that Amiibo is definitely taking the wrong direction, which I agree. And then he also said that we don't want to create artificial demand for our figures. Like, and he said, let me see if I remember the quote here. He said, instead of having people being upset trying to find a figure, or I'm not quoting him because I don't remember. Instead of finding a figure that they can't find and going off to another Toys to Life game, he rather it be available and people to enjoy the game as opposed to they didn't want to demand, they didn't want to hunt. They want it to be readily available, not only for all the kids to be happy, but to make the parents happy by finding it easily. Yeah. So that's awesome. I mean, and it shows by them removing the blind bags. It just shows we got to make this easier for everybody.
Yeah.
So
no, that's cool. He talked a little bit about possibility characters. To be honest, it was more of they're all possible. Every character is possible at some point. So there was not really Kingdom Hearts and Goofy was brought up,
and Boba as well.
Yes, but Boba's a slightly different issue at the minute. He did say they're only going to focus on the Star Wars canon characters. And finally, he said that there's a lot more things to be shown at E3, including playsets that have been announced. There's going to be some surprises, and there will be lots of things to be excited about.
Yeah, let me see if there was anything else. Picking back off what you just said, that's the first thing I'm going to do when I get to that booth. He said to look at that wall of display because there's some surprises in there, which I'm maybe thinking they might be revealing new figures by you finding them. So that would be cool if that's true. But anyways, no, I'm excited for that. Let's see. Sorry, I just want to run through this. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
this is a cool thing. He said that the Inside Out characters, because the playset is not combat focused, they were throwing around the idea whether they should make them have combos outside of it in the toy box, and of course they did, because you want to be able to actually have a different play style in the toy box. I mean, it goes back to the 1.0 characters not being fair with the new ones. You want to make sure that they're fair with everybody else out there. So that's cool. They have different combat combos outside of the playset. And then one last thing that I did notice that he said, when he was talking about what the characters do as far as the mechanics go, he said grow big, grow small. And it kind of made me think, wait a second, are we getting the shrink or the goo toy back in 3.0? I see. I don't know if we are gonna get it back, but he did say grow big, grow small, which makes me think that we might have something similar to it.
I think with the 6,000 toys we've got now, that's going to become increasingly less likely.
I don't know. I mean, he said it, so I'm just quoting.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's all I got myself.
No, I think just in general, it's a really, really great podcast to listen to over at Gameinformer for that. Really informative. Again, which has been the whole thing of 3.0's launch has been very informative. We're knowing a lot more about it.
Absolutely. Yeah. So much info. I can't even retain it all. I had to take.
Yeah, I think we're pretty much at a point now where we're going to roll over. Okay, so our next thing that we're going to talk about is going to be the Toy Box TV Live this week, or last Friday. What a show that was!
Yeah, that was awesome. It was cool. I mean, they got to demo this time around the Rise Against Empire playset, which was awesome. Tapped into a bunch of cool things coming on. They showed the 8 new power discs. But I don't know. I mean, what did you think? How did you feel about the whole thing?
I think just in general, I felt the show was a lot more structured. It was a bit shorter. I mean, when there was a couple of delays in getting on, they kind of got rid of the toy box side of things from the 2.0, which I think a lot of people would it wasn't working the way they were doing it. They kind of just, and the amount of time they were just playing that in that Star Wars playset, and messing about doing the attacks and just and fighting between each other. It was a very informal sort of demo, but it was very. I think it was just very informative. JV was freaking out when he kept seeing the debug mode coming up on the screen. Not that I would have understood any of what was coming up. But I think it was just the fact that they were in there and they were having fun and messing about in there, and interacting with the Twitch viewers. I think it was a really good, enjoyable show, and I think that's what they need to do. That thing of tighten it up a bit, but allow that freedom. They obviously they made the announcement with the power discs, but they got in there and just played, and I think that's what is going to sell this game this summer is them doing these kind of little things. I think if you're watching it on Twitch, you're probably already sold anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just looking. Yeah.
I was going to say, if you want me to go through the recap.
Yeah, you go through the recap since you wrote it.
Yeah, that's true. I did write it.
I just get to watch that one. It's like, oh yeah, Abe's got that one covered. I'll leave that one.
Well, they started off the whole thing with JV asking Allison about her week, and she did bring up the fact that she's been working on a top secret community event coming up. And they did, JV asked her questions kind of to give us some spoilers, but it looks like it's an event happening at the end of summer, which is close to D23. But he said community, so it also could mean the summit. So who knows?
Yeah.
And also JV was working on some top secret. He said the words future Infinity. So they might be already. Of course they might be. Of course they are. 4.0 stuff for sure. So that was kind of cool. So they also mentioned that they were going to show us new power discs. Sean Patton was going to demo it. Yada yada yada. Right now at the stage that they're in currently, Avalanche is working on killing tons of bugs in the game. So that's a great. That's a great progress report for all of us who, got to experience all that during 2.0. So hopefully it's going to be a lot better this time around.
This just keeps saying to me that this game is that much closer to launch.
Oh yeah, I agree. Um, this was kind of cool, which I already knew a little earlier, but it looks like E3 opened up to the public this year, but the only way you can come in as a fan, you have to be invited by a developer. And looks like Allison has about 200 fan tickets to give away, so that
Mm.
looks kind of interesting. Who knows how they're going to roll that out, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And obviously they're finishing up the touches for E3, which is coming up not so far away from here. But anyways, they got into the demo and basically some cool stuff that we got to see. First of all, they showed us the whole how do you take down an at
Mm.
the AT-AT basically. They said that the way they move, Studio Gobo was actually inspired by the game Shadow of Colossus. I don't know if you actually got to play that in the past,
No,
but
I never played that one.
yeah, it was this very cool game, and it does kind of make you feel like they are like this huge, overpowering being, even though they're just machines here.
Yeah, I mean, I
But
remember playing. I think there was an N64. I think it might have been Rogue Squadron or something, where you had to whiz around the legs and take them out with the hook and stuff. So I remember doing that in a video game before.
yeah. So he dived into the three ways to take them down. The first way they showed was obviously taking away the batteries, kind of like all the other places
Yeah.
we've had. There's batteries, you remove them. These are all supposed to be toys. So
Mm.
this was kind of cool. He had Luke Skywalker banging on the legs, and then it drops armor. You climb it with the bars that it reveals, and you remove the battery. The second way, which is obviously the traditional way, which everybody knows from the movie and from other games, is like you said, taken down with the tow cable. You just wrap around it, which is cool. And then the third one, which I thought was freaking awesome, is you can actually somehow figure out how to land on top of the AT-AT and basically eject the pilot. And it reveals this remote that you can actually not only control it from the top, but you can actually take it off, get off of the AT-AT and control it from there.
Do you know what the one thing that jumped out to me from this is how they've gone back to being toys. They really kind of pushed it back. I think with Marvel, they were quite more. A lot of the times they looked like it was just a video game. Like there you can see the screws.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely more that their toys detail in this round. I mean, 2.0 did have it, but like you said, it wasn't as obvious as it is here, which is awesome. I
Mm.
agree with you there. One thing that they did dive into, which is really cool about the AT-ATs, obviously the original AT-ATs, especially in the movie and the way they were designed at Lucasfilm, they never were intended to turn, so they're always going straight.
Mm.
And Studio Gobo developed this unique procedural generation physics tool that basically lets it interact with its surrounding, the
Mm.
terrain, the way you actually put the tow cable on it. So it's actually going to basically, depending on where it's walking or where you wrap it around, that's how it's going to fall, that's how it's going to explode, that's how it's going to turn around. Really, really cool.
Mm.
They did say that the ATSTs, which are the smaller ones, those will be using the same physics tool as well. Interesting thing that I saw here, I don't know what you think about this too, but apparently Jar Jar Binks is also in this playset. So I wonder how he's going to what he has to do with the story.
I don't know.
So let's see what happens with that. And then Sean and Matt did talk. Sean did talk about him and Matt playing the Toy Box Speedway, how awesome it is. So looks like we have something cool coming.
Yeah. They went
Let's see.
they went through all the power discs, which we've done already.
Yeah, they went through all the power discs, which we went through earlier today. But let's see. There's a couple other things they did. Oh yeah, there's this cool new combat mode with the AT-ATs where you basically, it's called the AT-AT Sumo Battle, whatever. So
Yeah.
if you're playing multiplayer, you can actually go against each other and it takes points, score, whatever, on
But
who knocks each other down first.
quick note, obviously this is in the playset, but they are trying to work on a way of bringing this in to a toy box of some kind of. They're not too sure how they're going to do it because it's almost like a mini adventure, but they can't do it within the toy box. It's going to have to be a little bit more restrictive. So it's interesting to see what they're going to try and do with that, because I think this will be very popular online, but at the minute it's just co-op.
Yeah, they're trying to figure that out, like you said, as we speak. Although I did remember seeing in one of Tigger's videos on Disney Infinity Fans that there is an ad in the toy box, but it looks like it's just a stagnant toy that you put like scenario. So,
Yeah.
but that looks kind of cool.
Yeah. I think they said, Evolos is going to be on. Evolos is going to be on next week's show. He's custom artist, does some great looking Infinity figures. So we'll have more on that next week. So we mentioned the different ones. Right, now I'm going to bring up there was basically an elephant in the room for the whole show. And it was this poster behind there of this art. And originally it was going to be the artwork for the Gameinformer magazine. Now, what everyone was jumping straight onto was slap bang here in the middle of the fire, there's Boba Fett. And basically, I think all show, everyone was going, well, the Boba Fett's in the background. And eventually, JV did actually sort of turn around and sort of explain what the poster was. Didn't specifically say anything about Boba Fett. But I think it does look very promising, doesn't it?
Yeah, Roger, you know what's funny? This is the first time I noticed that.
All the way through the chat, everyone's going with this Boba Fett. We can see Boba Fett. We can see Boba Fett in the background.
You know what? I was so focused writing this article that I'm taking notes and doing. Yeah. I wasn't even paying attention. So
see, that was the thing, because I was in the chat just yapping to everyone and watching the show. But there's a real kind of thing you can really see. I'll try and see if I can bring that up any closer. Here we go with a bit, so you can see it better. So there you can see there is Boba Fett.
Yeah, click it. So zoom in even more if you can.
There we go.
Wow. I can't believe I missed it the whole time. I missed it in the chat and I missed it on the artwork. There you go.
But you see that? I mean, it is really hard to kind of be there going, So yes, wow. And also it looks identical to
iron tardy slip here.
It looks pretty identical to that mode there.
Well, look, it makes sense. I mean, you got to think about this. In the prequel characters, in the prequel characters that they've announced, you had villains throughout 1.0 and 2.0 being released later on. The villain you can think of is obviously Darth Maul, but you also think of General Grievous. Well, what about on the rise? You have Darth Vader already, but who is another villain technically? Boba is. So that makes a lot of sense. Wow, I just noticed that. Thank you for bringing that up. There was a few more things too.
There was one thing that was brought up. They are working with a number of YouTube video makers.
Right.
Basically, PewDiePie, EvanTube, Swampy Cat, and Captain Sparkles. Basically, they are going after the big gaming YouTubers. We're probably just a few subscribers short of that category ourselves.
Oh yeah. Thanks to you, all of you guys. Thank you so much, by the way.
Yes, but all the subscribers help. But I mean, these guys are in an entirely different, and it makes complete sense to go out. And I know they already play the game. Captain Sparkles and PewDiePie and EvanTube have already. I'm not too sure about Stampy because he's more of a Minecraft guy, but it makes sense for gamers. These guys have got a bigger audience, especially younger audience, than not that PewDiePie is really that sort of child friendly, but there's a real audience to go after, and I think some people don't maybe take that seriously. To me, I know that PewDiePie played some toy boxes, including one of mine, and it was viewed by millions and millions of people. Probably more people maybe would see a video on PewDiePie than they would do on Gameinformer. I'm being completely honest with that.
Yeah, that's true. He doesn't have a lot of subscribers. Yeah. And speaking of videos that were viewed, they also gave me a shout out for one of my videos.
You're Mad Men.
Yeah, I created a parody video of JV in an episode of Mad Men. I titled it Mad Men Infinity. So if you want to go see it on YouTube, go ahead and look it up. But it was funny. It was silly. It was a lot of fun. So.
Anything else you want to add on that Toy Box TV Live before we move on to the Superchargers?
Other than that, dude, I'm stoked. I just saw Boba for the first time. So
yes. I think with that Toy Box TV, it's really it's a great little show to watch. It's really informative, very sort of friendly. Also, the chat is good because you've usually got a lot of sort of the real diehard fans in there. You'll have Rob from Cornet TV, Everloss is in there. You've got usually got like Pirate Steven, Model Train Man was in there. There's a whole load of different sort of well-known sort of Disney Infinity fans and stuff in there, so it's always a good thing to check out, and you usually find us two in there as well.
Yeah, it looks like I missed things though because I multitask there.
Yeah, but that's fine. So I could pick it up. So there we go. That's cool.
Thanks. Thank you. And
Moving on. Okay. So onto our next subject of the day, which is kind of, we're going to take a little bit of a step away from the Infinity side, because we felt like, the Toys to Life category is pretty big. It's huge. And pretty, the big granddaddy of the sort of the oldest one has finally announced their hand. Skylanders Superchargers has now been announced, which is kind of going to be a little bit different than they've previously done, because they're going to have vehicles in them, and there's going to be racing, and there's going to be 20 new characters and 20 new supercharged vehicles, all with different abilities. So we thought we'd just kind of briefly sort of touch on Skylanders, share our thoughts on it, and sort of maybe how it might compare to Disney Infinity this year. Because obviously, with Lego coming onto the scene this year, Amiibos this year, Skylanders have got a much harder sell to get to us. So did you see all the Skylanders stuff this week?
I did.
What was your initial thought?
I'm on the fence, to be honest with you. I mean, it's cool. I do like the fact that we have less figures now. You do have vehicles.
There's still 40 characters. Anyway,
well, sort of. I mean, if you think about it, because they're meant to work together. The only thing that kind of throws me off here is, like, what kind of game is this? Is it a racing game? Is it a Skylanders traditional story game? I mean, yeah, I see it in the gameplay that, yeah, you traverse through air, sky, and water, and through these lands, and you collect the gears or whatnot. But I'm on the fence, because it just feels like it's definitely a new developer too. I mean, it's not Toys for Bob, which is great. So
I think the guys that did Swap Force, which was
the
best Skylanders game.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I'm wondering if this is going to be good. However, I feel like this whole card thing might be another gimmick. I mean, they're not like traps, which the traps are kind of have no character, but these cards they're customizable. It's cool. But now you lose the use of all these traps that you've got before.
If you pop the traps into there's a little slot in the base here, and that will unlocks specific stuff for the vehicles this year.
Right. But what I'm saying is you're losing what they were meant for before, which were releasing the villains. Like, what was the point of the whole story of saying that, hey, these are Traptanian crystals, they trap villains, and all of a sudden they lost complete ability of having villains? I don't know. It just threw me off. But the biggest thing for me, and before you get onto your thoughts, the biggest thing for me is I feel like this will be an interesting competition between, even though it looks like it's a smaller piece of Disney Infinity 3.0, but I feel like Toy Box Speedway might steal the thunder of this game, because I feel like it's a traditional, cool racing game, as opposed to this just being a new type of gameplay with vehicles. So I don't know. I mean, it looks cool. I definitely like it 10 times better than Trap Team, don't get me wrong, because I just did not like Trap Team at all. But this definitely looks interesting. I'm on the fence. I completely am on the fence. I maybe on E3 they can change my mind, but right now I'm completely on the fence.
See, I think the trouble is, for example, Disney Infinity already have the power discs with the vehicles, so we've already got that. Speedway is being promoted as a real kart racer. You can use all your characters. You're not going to have to buy anything extra other than that little game. So that side of things. But there's also, I'm looking at Lego also got in their little job just before this one got announced, and they put out that trailer with the Batmobile, and all their vehicles can be rebuilt into 3 different parts. You've got 3 different modes for each vehicle. So the Batmobile can turn into there's 2 other different modes. So there's a real kind of vehicle attack going on this year. This year seems, they're all kind of jumping in on these vehicles. I think from Skylanders' point of view, I think the idea of having cars and vehicles is a very good for going out, a traditional boy sort of toy, a sort of Hot Wheels kind of toy, to have those vehicles. I think, they're going to be a bit pricey. I think they're like $15 a piece, so they're not going to be cheap. But for me personally, I saw this and was just like, well, what is it? What are you trying to do? Are you taking the best bits of Skylanders, and now you've got distracted with trying to sell these vehicles? I don't know. I'm going to be honest, I was slightly underwhelmed. That would probably be, I'm looking at this now going, Lego looks a lot more attractive to me than this now. Now,
absolutely. I agree.
Would I pick this up this time next year when it's on sale, when they announce Skylanders 6? Maybe. I ain't going to be buying this at launch, because frankly, I've got burnt last year with Trap Team on doing that, and there's just too much competition, and I'm no way am I buying all the vehicles. There's just there's I never liked the trap idea. I didn't like it at all. Didn't like the gameplay with using it. I think as I loved Swap Force, so I really enjoyed Swap Force. I thought it was a really cool adventure game, and I really enjoyed playing it. But Trap Team, I didn't like the trap mechanism. So the Supercharger things, I could be tempted with the the digital version where you can play as the characters that come in it digital only, and you can use your previous portals, and they're slapping into the Disney Infinity side where they're maybe kind of people are getting a little bit annoyed with all the portal buying and all the starter packs, and they've got to change their model.
Yeah, and going off of what you said, changing their model, I think that's one thing that's turned me off, because to be honest with you, I feel like I started falling off of the whole Skylanders thing on Swap Force. Even though it was a fun game, the thing that turned me off was the fact that you needed a certain character to go into a certain spot in order to complete this thing, and you needed a swap, and you needed at least one of each. But then in Trap Team, not only did you need one that could swap, you also needed a giant. Then you needed this trap, or you needed this one to be this one. And so it's like it got more complex. Not to mention, I thought the trap things were all gimmicks. I mean, from the very beginning. I mean, yeah, some of the villains were cool, but it only got like a few seconds to use them, and I don't know. But anyways, the only thing that might make me maybe be like, oh, maybe Skylanders, you got something here. Which I highly doubt they'll do this. I completely doubt they'll do this, actually. But if they would sell the Supercharger Skylander with the corresponding vehicle in the same package, and not to mention not make them extremely overpriced, then I'd be like, okay, maybe this makes more sense, and I think it's more of a value. But if they're going to be selling them separately at $15 a piece, $16 a piece, both the Skylander and the vehicle, I mean, it's more money. I feel like, hey, it's like more traps. For me, it's a money pit. And like you said, big point is like those traps are going to be used to help you customize vehicles or whatever. Well, you know what? Lego already has it, and it's simpler. And you have a vehicle, and you can play it at 3 different ways. And you don't need to build it or anything like that. You know, it'll be in the game already. You can if you wanted to, which is cool. But I don't know. It's tough, man. I feel like even though I enjoyed Skylanders from Spyro Adventures, Giants, moving on, I just feel like, unfortunately, it's slowly declining because of all these brand new contenders. So I don't know. It'll be interesting.
I mean, I'm kind of. I think there's that thing of, I know with Skylanders is that structural gameplay. It's something that a lot of people love. They love that structured gameplay where you go through one story. You're not worrying about toy boxes or play sets, or you've kind of got that structure that people like. And the racing element might improve. It might be a good fun gimmick. It might be fun. It could be a really good game. They might have had to really up the ante in terms of trying to make a better game. So that it's hard to know at the minute without playing it. Well, I think, from my point of view as well, is the cost of all these different Toys to Life category games means now that people are going to be split. Now, if we're split as adults looking at this going, this is expensive, kids are going to have to be even harder. Are the kids literally just going to end up with starter packs for everything, and then they'll buy nothing else because, the parents are going to be like, you have to pick one, or you can't buy any accessories or anything like that. There's a lot of competition. Lego are coming in hard. And I know Disney are feeling it, and they're going to know it. I think Skylanders, once again, it's like really another stealth elf in a starter pack. It's like, what's this like? I think it's like the 8th version of this figure. It's just like, this was your idea of the Superchargers is the way of getting people into the game, and you've chucked on another figure. I mean, I already had 3 when I had all my Skylanders. I had 3 stealth elves and 4 trigger happies and all these kind of things, and they come back with another Terrafin, another trigger happy, and it's like, once again, it's like I was jumping at them and going, they were keeping to their core characters, but they're onto their 5th version, and I think people are, there's a lot of competition out there, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Skylanders going forward. I still can't believe they're still doing a Wii version of this.
Really? I did not know
Yeah,
that.
they're doing a special. They're going to be having it on all the, the PS4, PS3, Xbox One, Xbox, and the Wii U. That's one version. There is going to be a 3DS and Wii version. Now these are slightly different to the standard version and the tablet version. I think, to be honest, they're looking at the Wii as still a bit of a. There's still a lot of kids still using it as an old device. I mean, they must be the only game coming out for it this year.
Let's piggyback off of what you just said, which is one positive that I did get from this is when I did watch, I believe it was CoinOps video, the developer that Rob was interviewing. He did say that this game was made off of the intention of it performing off of the new gen consoles. So even though, like you said, the older ones will have a slightly different version, and I'm sure the Xbox ones will be less as far as generation with graphics goes, but he did say that the game is a lot more, it's prettier, it's more beautiful because and it plays better because the intention is on the new gen. So that is a wait, hold on, that is a great plus, and that's also something that I feel Infinity might suffer from if we see it from 2.0, like we were limited to smaller toy boxes because of the older systems. But anyways, go ahead.
Well, obviously it's off exactly on that subject. Was now when they say about it going on to next gen, are they now still only talking PS3 and Xbox 360 because they dropped the Wii as the lowest dominator on the main console? Because to me, it's like, well, actually, no, you need to jump two. If you're going from the Wii to the PS4, that's 2 generations. That's not just even next gen. That's the next gen on again. They've just dropped off the Wii support for the basic game, but they're still making it for the 360 of the PS. And there's a lot of big games now that are dropping the old consoles. But I can see Skylanders are looking at, they want to get this game on as many different devices as possible. But yeah, I'm looking at it going, well, actually, no, if they just dropped the Wii off the core game to make it look prettier, it's still only meant for the lowest dominator, which is the 360 and the PS3.
What about the Wii U?
Well, yeah, or the Wii. I think this is just the thing of, the Skylanders was the original. It's been around the longest. It's got the biggest fan base because it's been around the longest. However, they've got all this competition, and this year is going to be hot this is like last year was busy with 2.0 and Amiibo had launched. This year Amiibo are already out. Lego are joining in the fray, and Disney are coming out with some heavy hitters. This year is probably the most competitive Toys to Life category we've ever seen. You've also got Sick Bricks in there. You've got whole loads of different games, and everyone's trying to jump into this market. I don't think it's good enough. I don't think Skylanders is good enough yet to do it. Yeah,
unfortunately, they're falling short in my eyes too. But we'll see. I don't know. I got more on E3 this time. Last year it was just Infinity and Skylanders, and then Nintendo had a little case with the Amiibos. Nobody knew what they were about. But now I got 4 different places to go, not to mention the other Sick Bricks and all that stuff. So
and all the Star Wars Battlefront. I think that's pretty much going to wrap up this week's show. So a big thank you to A for joining us this week. And anything you want to add before we head off?
No, but definitely stay tuned for more information. We got E3 coming up, and obviously the Toy Box TVs are getting even better. The live ones, obviously, and just the recorded ones too. But just stay tuned.
Yeah, that's it. And remember to check us out on all the Twitters and etc. etc. And remember, we shall see you guys in the later video.
Later, guys. And again, thank you to the patrons. Thank you. Also,
yes, thank you, guys.